Her son married a rich girl and abandoned her, but when she collapsed, it was the maid who… Jomo stood by the dusty roadside, holding a small old bag that had been with her for years. Her eyes were full of tears, but she didn't cry out loud. She just watched, silently, as her only son, Barco, got into a shiny black car and closed the door without looking back. Inside the car was his new wife, Nia, a rich and beautiful woman from a powerful family. They were both smiling, dressed in fine clothes, going off to their new life. But not once did Bako turn around to wave or even glance at the woman who had raised him with her own hands. Jomo remembered the nights she went to bed hungry so Bako could eat. The times she washed people's clothes just to pay his school fees. She was father and mother to him. She sold firewood, worked on farms, and even went without new clothes for years. Everything she did for him. He was her joy, her reason to live. And now he had all the things they once dreamed of: comfort, money, a new home, but had left her behind like she never mattered. She didn't want anything from him, not his money, not his gifts. All she wanted was to be part of his life, to be loved, to be remembered. But standing there, watching the car drive away and get smaller and smaller, she felt like a stranger in her own son's story. The silence from him hurt more than any words ever could. Her heart was full of pain, not just because he left, but because he didn't even look back to say goodbye. Not even once. The wind blew gently around her as the car disappeared into the distance. She stood there for a long time, hoping maybe he would return. Maybe he forgot something. Maybe he'd come running back to hug her. But he didn't. People walked past her. Some looked, others didn't. But no one knew that at that moment, Jomo's heart had broken in a way that couldn't be fixed. Her son, the one she suffered for, had chosen a new life without her in it. And now, she was alone again, just like in the beginning. Only this time, the pain was deeper, because it came from the one person she loved the most. Days passed, then weeks, then months, but no invitation ever came for Jomo. Her small house stayed quiet. No letters, no calls, no visitors. Her heart waited every single day. Maybe Bako would come and say, "Mama, come with me. My wedding is near." Maybe he would bring her a dress, or at least call her on the phone. But nothing happened. Silence, painful silence. One afternoon, Jomo was sitting outside her little house, peeling roasted corn for dinner. Her hands were slow. Her heart was heavy. That was when a young girl from the next compound came running to her with a phone in hand. "Mama Jomo," she said, excitement in her voice. "Look at your son. I saw this online. He's married now, to that rich girl." Jomo slowly took the phone. On the screen were big, shiny pictures. Barco was there, smiling wide, wearing a fine suit. Beside him was Nia, looking like a queen in a long white dress. The wedding was beautiful. Flowers, lights, rich people everywhere, cameras flashing, joy in every corner, but not Jomo's corner. She gave the phone back and nodded, trying to smile, but her lips didn't move much. Inside her chest, her heart sank like a stone in water. So he had married, so the wedding happened, and not even a word was sent to her. "No, Mama, come bless us. No, Mama, wear this and come sit in the front." Nothing. That night, Jomo sat alone on her wooden chair. She placed the roasted corn on a small plate, but she couldn't eat much. The food was hot, but her heart was cold. How could a child forget the one who raised him? How could a son leave his mother behind and celebrate without her? She didn't ask for riches. She didn't ask for gifts. All she wanted was to be there, to see her boy become a man, to give him her blessing, to feel proud, just once. But instead, she was left with silence, a bitter silence that screamed louder than words. She looked at the empty space beside her, the spot where Barco used to sit as a boy, eating corn with his small hands. Now, that space was empty. Her hands were older, her heart more broken. She wiped her tears with the edge of her wrapper, looked up at the stars, and whispered, "God, please watch over him, even if he's forgotten me." Then she closed her eyes and let the night hold her. One morning, Jomo woke up with a strong feeling in her heart. She told herself, "Today, I will go and see my son." She didn't know if he would welcome her, but she wanted to try. Maybe if Bako saw her face, he would remember. Maybe he had just been busy. Maybe his new wife had hidden the invitation. Hope can make the heart blind to truth. So she tied her wrapper tightly, picked up a small bottle of water, and began to walk. She had no money for transport, but her feet were strong from years of village life. She walked through one village, then another, and then the third. Her slippers broke, and she removed them, Barefoot, she kept moving under the hot sun. Her legs hurt. Her mouth was dry, but her love for her son gave her strength. Finally, she reached the estate gate. It was big, painted white, with tall security men standing like statues. Jomo smiled politely and said, "Please, I am Bako's mother. I want to see my son." The guards looked at each other and laughed. One of them said, "You, his mother. He didn't put your name on the visitor list." The other added, "Go away, old woman. This place is not for people like you." Jomo tried to explain. She told them about Bako's childhood, how she raised him alone, how she sold fruits just to send him to school, but they didn't care. One guard even said, "If you're really his mother, why doesn't he talk about you?" Her heart cracked at those words. She turned around slowly and began the long walk back home. The sun was now hotter, burning her skin. Her legs wobbled, her lips were dry, and her stomach felt like it was eating itself. She hadn't eaten all day, and the little water she had was finished. But still, she walked, until her strength gave up. Her vision became blurry. The ground felt like it was moving. Her feet stopped, and before she could hold anything, her body dropped. She collapsed near a house gate, someone's home she didn't know. People passed, but no one helped. Just another poor woman fainting under the sun, they thought. But Jomo wasn't just tired. She was broken by hunger, by heat, and by the deep heartbreak of being rejected by the one person she loved the most. She lay there, still, the dust on her face, the sun on her back, and pain in every part of her body. Her journey was not just through villages, but through disappointment, shame, and silent tears. And at that moment, she didn't even care if she ever woke up again. The sun was going down when Tadiwa, the young maid, came outside to throw out some kitchen waste. She worked in Nia's mansion, always quiet, always doing her duties without trouble. But that evening, something made her stop. Near the back fence, lying in the dust like a forgotten cloth, was an old woman. Her body looked weak, her skin dry, and her breathing slow. Tadiwa's eyes widened. "Oh no," she whispered, dropping the waste bin and rushing over. She knelt beside the woman and gently touched her forehead. It was burning hot. The woman's lips were cracked, and her wrapper was soaked with sweat and dust. Without thinking twice, Tadiwa looked left and right, then carefully helped lift the woman onto her back. It wasn't easy, but her heart gave her strength. Step by step, she carried her inside through the back entrance, straight into the small staff quarters. She knew she could get in trouble for bringing a stranger into the house, but she didn't care. The woman needed help. She laid her gently on a mat, ran to fetch water, and slowly gave her small sips. Then she wiped her face with a cold cloth and covered her with a wrapper. The old woman didn't speak, but her eyes moved slowly, and tears rolled down her face. Tadiwa sat beside her, worried. "Who is she?" she asked herself. "Why was she outside like that? Is she lost? Is she a beggar?" She looked so tired, yet something about her face felt familiar, like a mother's face. Later that night, as the old woman slept, Tadiwa noticed something hanging around her neck. A small locket. Carefully she opened it and froze. Inside was a faded photo of a younger woman with a small boy. The boy looked very much like Bako, the man of the house. Tadiwa blinked. "Wait, this woman, is she?" She looked closer again. The boy in the photo had the same eyes, the same smile. It had to be Bako, and the woman. It had to be his mother. Tadiwa covered her mouth in shock. "Oh God," she whispered. "They left her outside like that. This is his own mother." Her heart broke even more. She gently placed the locket back around the woman's neck and sat quietly beside her, her own eyes filling with tears. From that moment, Tadiwa made a silent promise. She would protect this woman. Even if nobody else cared, she would. Because no mother should suffer like this. The next morning, everything changed. Nia came down from her bedroom, wearing a silk robe and holding her phone. She was in a bad mood already. As she passed the staff quarters, she noticed something strange. The door was open. She walked in, and to her shock, there on the floor, lying on a mat, was an old woman sleeping, her face twisted with disgust. "What is this?" Nia shouted. "Who brought this filthy person into my house?" Tadiwa ran in, heart pounding. "Madam, please, I found her outside near the fence. She collapsed. I just wanted to help." Nia cut her off. "Help? In my house? Do you know who I am? This place is not a village clinic. And she smells like poverty." Tadiwa tried to explain again. "Madam, she was weak. She could have died." "I don't care," Nia screamed. This is my home, not a dumping ground. Throw her out. Right now." At that moment, Bako walked in. He had heard the shouting. His eyes landed on the old woman lying quietly. For a moment, he froze. Then, slowly, he recognized her face. His lips moved slightly, but no words came. Tadiwa looked at him with hope. "Sir, do you know her?" But Bako said nothing. He just lowered his head and stared at the floor. Not a single word, not a single step forward. Jomo, now awake, slowly sat up. Her eyes met her son's. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just looked at him with tired, broken eyes, the kind that speak louder than any word. Nia noticed the silence. "Wait, is this your mother?" she asked Bako, turning to him. "Is this that village woman you never talk about?" Still, Bako said nothing. Jomo gave a small, painful smile and stood up with effort. She brushed off the dust from her wrapper, even though it was already clean. Then, in a calm voice, she said, "Don't worry, I'll leave." She looked at Bako one last time and whispered, "You have everything now, my son, but you lost the only thing that truly mattered, your mother's blessing." Tadiwa's eyes filled with tears as she tried to follow her, but Jomo gently stopped her with a hand. "It's okay, my child." Then she turned and walked slowly out of the house. Tadiwa looked at Bako with anger and pain. "How could you let this happen?" she asked. But Bako just stood there, still silent. No defense, no love, no courage. Jomo stood up slowly, her back aching but her spirits still strong. She brushed the dust from her wrapper with shaking hands. Her eyes, filled with both pain and strength, turned to Bako. He still couldn't look at her. He just stared at the floor, frozen, as if his legs refused to move. Jomo's voice was soft, not angry, not loud, just full of deep sadness. She said, "My boy, you now have all the gold, the cars, the house, but you don't have a spine. I pray you never need the love you burned today." She didn't wait for a reply. She knew there would be none. She had looked into her son's eyes and seen a stranger. The same child she once carried on her back under the hot sun now stood like a statue, cold and ashamed, unable to speak for her, to fight for her, or even to say sorry. With slow steps, she turned and began walking out of the house. Her slippers were broken, and her legs shook a little, but she kept walking. The big gate looked far, but she didn't stop. The guards looked away, pretending not to see her. Her heart was heavy, but her pride kept her head up. Even in pain, she walked with dignity. Just as she passed the side fence, she heard quick footsteps behind her. "Mama! Mama! Wait!" It was Tadiwa. The young maid had tears in her eyes and a small plastic bag in her hand. She ran up to Jomo and gently held her arm. "Mama, please don't go like this," she said. "Here, I brought some leftover rice and water. You haven't eaten." Jomo looked at her, surprised by the kindness. "Why are you helping me, child?" she asked. Tadiwa's voice trembled. "Because no one should be treated like this. Because if I had a mother, I'd pray someone would care for her too. Come back tomorrow night, Mama. I'll hide you. I'll take care of you in the shed. You shouldn't die like this. Not you." Jomo stared at her, and for the first time in days, her lips curved into a small smile. She held Tadiwa's hand and nodded slowly. "Thank you, my daughter." That night, Jomo didn't sleep with anger in her heart. She had been rejected by her own blood, but in return a stranger gave her something more powerful than money or gifts. Compassion, and that small act of kindness would change everything. Every evening, when the sun disappeared and the big house went quiet, Tadiwa would sneak out with a small bag of food hidden in her wrapper. She would check to make sure the guards were asleep or looking away, then tiptoe to the old shed behind the house. Inside, lying on a straw mat, was Jomo, the mother who had been thrown out like garbage, now resting in secret. Tadiwa would knock gently on the door, and Jomo would slowly sit up, her face always lit up when she saw Tadiwa. No one had cared for her in a long time, but this young maid, this stranger, had shown her more love than her own son. Tadiwa brought her leftovers from her own plate, rice, beans, sometimes even fruit when she could find it. Even though her salary was small and barely enough for herself, she shared it with Jomo without hesitation. When Jomo's feet got swollen from walking barefoot across villages, Tadiwa washed them with warm water. When her back hurt, Tadiwa massaged it gently with palm oil and herb. She found old blankets from the storage room and made a small bed in the corner of the shed. It wasn't perfect, but it was warm, safe, and full of care. No one knew what Tadiwa was doing. She kept it all secret. Not even the other workers could guess. She didn't do it for praise. She didn't expect a reward. She did it because deep inside her heart, she understood Jomo's pain. Tadiwa, too, had grown up without a mother or father. She had been passed from one relative to another, treated like a burden, used like a servant. She had known hunger, tears, and nights of sleeping on cold floors. She had known the pain of being unwanted. So when she saw Jomo, she didn't see an old woman. She saw herself, just older and more tired. And when Jomo spoke to her with gentle words saying, "Thank you, my daughter," it felt like the mother she never had was finally speaking to her. Days turned into weeks. Tadiwa continued to care for Jomo, even though it was risky. Every kind act made Jomo stronger, and every smile from Jomo made Tadiwa feel like she was healing too. Their bond grew, not by blood, but by love. Jomo began to call her my child, and Tadiwa started to feel like she had finally found her place, not in the big house of riches, but in the small shed where hearts were rich in love. And though the world didn't see it, something beautiful was blooming, a hidden flower of kindness between two forgotten souls. One bright morning, everything changed in Nia's big, shiny house. Nia was walking in her beautiful marble bathroom when suddenly her foot slipped on the wet floor. She fell hard, hitting her back against the cold tiles. A sharp pain shot through her body, and she couldn't move. The doctors said she had fractured her spine. From that moment, the whole house was filled with chaos and fear. Nurses came and went, but none stayed for long. Nia was angry and impatient. She shouted at the nurses, the guards, and even at Bako, her husband. "Why is no one helping me properly?" she yelled. Bako felt helpless. He tried to calm her, but she only screamed louder. The rich life that once made Nia feel powerful now seemed empty and cold. No one wanted to stay around her when she was angry and weak. Days passed, and the house grew quiet again, but not in a good way. Nia's friends and rich visitors stopped coming. The servants whispered behind closed doors. Bako's confidence faded, and he looked tired and lost. One afternoon, when Nia was lying on her big hospital bed, hungry and frustrated, a soft voice broke through the silence. It was Tadiwa. She quietly came into the room with a small plate of food. She didn't say much, just gently placed the food on a little table near Nia's bed. Nia's eyes opened slowly, surprised to see the maid standing there. At first, she wanted to shout at Tadiwa to leave, but something in the maid's calm face stopped her. Tadiwa smiled softly and said, "Please eat. You need to get better." Just then, Jomo appeared in the doorway. She looked peaceful, strong, and calm. No anger, no bitterness, only kindness. She walked slowly toward Nia's bed and sat beside her. Bako stood behind them, silent, his eyes full of regret. Nia looked from Jomo to Tadiwa, confused. Why are you here?" she asked weakly. Jomo smiled gently and replied, "Because even when life is hard, we still have a choice. We can choose to hate, or we can choose to help. I choose to help." Tadiwa held Nia's hand softly. For the first time since her accident, Nia felt something warm, not from her riches or power, but from the care of two women she once ignored. Outside the window, rain began to fall. It was quiet but steady, washing the dust from the world, cleaning away old pain. In that moment, karma didn't come with fire or anger. It came quietly, like rain, gentle, soft, and healing. And for Nia, it was the beginning of a new lesson in life. After Nia's accident, everything changed. Her rich friends stopped visiting. They didn't want to be around someone who was no longer powerful or beautiful. The house felt empty and cold without their laughter and chatter. Bako, her husband, was full of guilt. He looked at Nia every day, knowing he had ignored his mother's love and now watched his wife suffer. But he didn't know what to do. He felt lost, silent, and ashamed. While everyone else left, two people stayed. Jomo, the mother-in-law who was once ignored and pushed away, came back every day. And Tadiwa, the kind maid who had secretly cared for Jomo, helped in every way she could. They were the ones who bathed Nia, fed her, and comforted her when she cried in pain. They stayed calm and patient, even when Nia was angry and frustrated. One afternoon, after helping Nia drink some water, Tadiwa turned to Jomo and softly said, "Please forgive them, Mama Jomo. Not for Bako or Nia, but for yourself. Holding on to anger only hurts you." Jomo looked at Tadiwa with tears in her eyes. She thought for a moment and nodded. She whispered, "You are right, my child. I will forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I need peace." Days passed with slow healing. Nia's heart began to soften, not just from her body getting better, but from the love she never expected. One quiet evening, she looked at Jomo and Tadiwa, sitting beside her with gentle smiles. Her eyes filled with tears, and she asked a question that surprised them all. "Why didn't you just leave me to suffer? Why did you stay when everyone else walked away?" Jomo reached out and held Nia's hand. Her voice was soft but strong. "Because pain is easier to bear when you are not alone. We have all felt pain in different ways. I stayed because no one should suffer alone." Tadiwa nodded, adding, "And sometimes those who hurt us need kindness the most. Not because they are good, but because kindness is healing." Nia wept openly, feeling the weight of her pride and loneliness lift a little. For the first time, she saw Jomo not as a poor woman who was beneath her, but as a strong, caring mother who had never stopped loving, even when she was forgotten. Bako watched quietly, tears rolling down his cheeks. He wished he could turn back time, but he knew he could only move forward. In that small room, filled with quiet love and forgiveness, a new story was beginning. One not of wealth or pride, but of healing, hope, and the true meaning of family. Jomo never went back to her old village. After everything, that place didn't feel like home anymore. Instead, she moved into a small, simple flat in the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful and quiet, just what she needed. Tadiwa helped her find the place, and even helped set it up. They spent many evenings talking, laughing, and sharing stories there. Tadiwa worked hard and went to nursing school while taking care of Jomo. After years of studying, she finally graduated. Proud and happy, she called Jomo Mama, not because they were related by blood, but because she loved and respected her like a real mother. Jomo's heart filled with joy every time she heard that word. It was more than she ever dreamed of after all the pain and loneliness she had faced. One day, Bako came to see Jomo. His eyes were full of regret and sorrow. He had made many mistakes, and now he wanted forgiveness. But Jomo had changed. She wasn't the same woman who begged for his love before. This time she was calm and strong. She looked at him and smiled softly. "You gave me pain," she said gently, "but God gave me a daughter instead." Her words touched something deep inside her. She wasn't bitter anymore. Instead, she was grateful for the new family she had found, the family that chose to love her. Bako stood there, silent and sad. He realized that the love he lost was now gone forever. Jomo had moved on, not just in her heart but in her life. And so, in a small flat in the city, two women who were once strangers built a new family together. They showed that love is not about blood or wealth. It is about kindness, loyalty, and the people who choose to stand by you, no matter what. Jomo's story was no longer about loss and pain. It became a story of hope, new beginnings, and the beautiful bond between a mother and her daughter, chosen, cherished, and real. If you felt every moment of Jomo's journey, don't just scroll. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that love and kindness can change everything. Hit like, comment your thoughts, and follow for more powerful stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. Your story matters. Let's spread hope together.